All right, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us on our monthly boot camp. We have lots of stuff in store for you. By the way, as people are logging on, just a reminder, this boot camp is for all agents of all firms. So it does not matter where you work. You're going to get just as much out of today as an agent at our brokerage. One of our philosophies is that we provide great value for real estate agent tools, training, technology, and doesn't matter whether you're an agent at the brokerage or not, you're going to get tons of amazing information today. So this is open to all agents of all firms. This is not a recruiting program. This is a 3-hour program on how to build a phenomenal real estate business. So, uh, with that being said, I like to, first of all, start each program with a reminder to get a pen and paper out. Really important to take some notes today because we are going to open the floodgates of information to grow your business. Tons of information to grow your business. And what we don't want to have happen is that you commit to 3 hours. Like that says something about you already, that you're committing 3 hours to grow your real estate business. That puts you in the 1% as far as I'm concerned. But where some people end up falling short is they dedicate all of this time to learning new tools, new marketing pieces for their business, and then they leave at the end and they don't execute on anything. So really important. We want you to be master executors. I always say knowledge is not power, execution is power. So get a pen and paper, take some notes. I always say a nice goal is 10 items that you're going to execute on when you leave today. So write down on a piece of paper number 1 through 10. We're going to give you way more than 10 items to execute on. We are literally going to give you 50 items to execute on. I'm going to help point out throughout today's session what things are kind of a priority for your business. But you know your business better than we do. So write down the things that you're missing out in your business. Also, this bootcamp is designed to keep coming back. We've been doing this first Friday of every month for at least 2020. One of the things we're going to be bringing back is we're going to be doing some live boot camps as well in our marketplaces in the coming year. But most important for you guys to know is that these are recorded. They are put on our YouTube station. So the best thing you could do is subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/LAER, LAER training, and subscribe there so that anytime we add new content, which is a few times a week, we add new classes. There's already 400 plus classes on there. Anytime we add new stuff, you'll just get a quick message on your phone that new content's been uploaded so that it's kind of like your reminder. So if 30 days from now, when we upload our newest boot camp for April, you'll be like, oh, holy cow, I forgot to get back to my list of 10 things I was working on. But also, if you can't stay for the whole program today, you can always come back later and watch. We record this every single month, so you can come back later. But most important, even if it's 2 things that you execute on, nothing is going to change in your business just because you took the class. In other words, you have to do something with some of the information that we're going to share today. Whether it's creating a new listing presentation, which we're going to give you, creating a new buyer presentation, which we're going to give you, digging into the technology. One of the reasons that we're a couple minutes late today is I've been working on this new presentation around technology because it's becoming so important that we embrace the technology. Because our competitors are. So one of the pieces I'm going to talk about later on today is a technology called Fellow. And it is a technology that every 2 weeks it sends everybody in your database their home value report. And what's interesting is that this has become so mandatory, so necessary for business today because more than half of the country, their mortgages are with Rocket Mortgage. And I'm going to show you, because I have a Rocket Mortgage, because one of my mortgages was sold to Rocket Mortgage, every 2 weeks, they send me my home value report. So you might think to yourself, well, big deal that the mortgage company's trying to send you your home value report. They just want a mortgage. But is that all they want? Because they are now part and parcel of Redfin. So that means that if your client's mortgage is with Rocket, either it was originated by Rocket or sold to Rocket, they're getting their home value every 2 weeks from your competitor. They are inside your competitor's database. So that means you have to be embracing this technology. So we're in a big kick at LAER, getting our agents who are not fully utilizing that tool to use it. So I have a little presentation. Also, something exciting we're going to be giving you a sneak peek at this morning for the first time is Sergio has built this really cool technology that we're going to be rolling out at our next sales meeting, and that is on the second Wednesday of the month. Everybody is invited. If you're inside our Facebook group, you can watch it there. But really cool technology to stay in touch with our agents, with our clients during a transaction. We call it countdown to closing. Anyway, some cool stuff. Many of you have already been on a boot camp throughout the year because we encourage you to come back a couple times a year as things shift, as the industry shifts. So this one is going to be a little different. For that extra presentation we're going to do on Fellow and the cool rollout of a new technology that you guys are going to get first peek at. Okay, so let's dig in. Again, if you came on a little bit late, this program is designed for everybody, so you do not have to be a LAER agent to get tons of information today. And no, we're not trying to turn this into a recruiting presentation. Literally, we're going to just give you tons of tools to be super successful in your business. So let's start. LAER Realty Partners is our brokerage. We are an independent real estate company with offices throughout New England and Florida. And we're almost 12 years old. Where we got our name from, LAER, is that when I started the brokerage, I had hired a branding company. They asked what the goal was. And I said, we're going to attract and build great real estate agents. They asked me, what makes a great real estate agent? Well, the best agents are strong. They are negotiators of difficult terrain. I always like to say that each real estate transaction is a bag of obstacles. So you got to be really good at overcoming obstacles if you want to do really well in real estate. And the best agents are, third, protectors of their clients. They don't focus on money first. They focus on helping people and taking care of their people. So we put all those words into a Google search 12 years ago. And the first thing that showed up when we put in strong negotiator protector was a lion. And we said, that's it. We're going to build our brand around the lions of real estate. Lions in the wild stay together in layers. We changed the spelling of LAER because ours is the mirror image of real. It's all capital letters because it is the acronym for Local Agents Extraordinary Results. So here we are, almost 12 years later, and still growing and educating great real estate agents. So what you're looking at here is our LAER program and services guide. It's kind of a launching point for our boot camp each month because it is like a booklet. It's like a 30 plus page booklet of tools and technology. So this is how we like to organize everything. By the way, everybody can get a copy of this, and it's not a bad idea if you have a printer that you just print it as somewhere you can take notes. But you can get this at laerrealty.com/success tools. You can, when you get to that page, if you scroll to the very bottom, you can get the PDF version of it. The cool thing about the PDF version, as you'll see, is as you go through it, we wanted this to be an interactive guide. So as you go through it, there's lots of hyperlinks to information. So if you're looking at the page on the fellow technology, it has some hyperlinks over to our page where we have training videos on how to use fellow. So the PDF is really cool. Booklet just to utilize so that you have many of the training resources that we're going to talk about today all in one spot. Okay, as you go through this booklet, the first few pages just talk about our cultural values. I always say that for any agent affiliating with any brokerage anywhere, make sure your values align with whatever brokerage you're at. That way you know that you're going to be there for the long haul. It then talks about the fact that we are an independent real estate company. One of the things that makes me very proud is that we're relatively small for the industry in that we have 700 plus real estate agents, which is kind of small, but we are consistently ranked as one of the largest real estate brokerages in the country because our agents do a lot of business. So, it's interesting to think because we are kind of an endangered species, I think. The independent real estate brokerage is a little bit of an endangered species because with all the conglomerates that are kind of pulling brokerages together. But we like our independence. We're not going anywhere. We're going to stay independent for a very long time. All right, next. The rest of this guide is a lot of the stuff we're going to cover today. This booklet is broken down into 4 sections: marketing and branding. We put that first because most agents really want or need the help with marketing and branding. So here's where we're going to give you guys tons of stuff. So I'm going to go through where all of our marketing and branding stuff is. I'm going to give you list presentations, buyer presentations, pre-listing packages. All of it is open to all agents. You can customize it. I'm going to talk about the things that are most important business and give you some things to write down on that list of 10 things that you're going to go and execute on after today's program. So the very first tool on page 7 of this program and services guide is laeragentservices.com. So we're going to spend the morning kind of taking a tour of LAER Agent Services. And like I mentioned, when you open the book, the Program and Services Guide, which you can get at laerrealty.com/success tools, when you open this or open the PDF version of it, it's going to have hyperlinks throughout the whole booklet. So as you go and you explore LAER Agent Services, you can just click on the links. As you go through, the whole booklet is just like that. So let's begin with LAER Agent Services. Okay, here we are at LAER Agent Services. The first thing I want to point out is there was no password to get in. So this is designed for all great real estate agents. Whether you are a LAER agent or not a LAER agent, we have provided hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of tools for you to utilize right here. Let me give you a tour of this page first off, and then we're going to dig into some of the marketing stuff. So, first at the very, very top, you'll see it's kind of basic, and we wanted it that way. We wanted it to be like super easy just to find what you are looking for. At the very top of the page, you're going to see the table of contents. And then as you scroll down, it's got all of these houses. Why do we have houses in here? It is because what do real estate people love to explore? Houses. So we make sure that you have lots of little houses to go and explore. So as you go down, you can click on any of these buttons, and we're going to spend the morning exploring some of these buttons so you could see the things that other agents really enjoy utilizing out of these resources. Now, right at the very top of the screen, we have the table of contents. So a couple things here are for LAER agents. For example, we have our Happy Agent host schedule. This schedule is, we have 25 offices, I think, just in Massachusetts. We also have offices in Connecticut, Maine, New Hampshire, Florida. That host schedule will tell you where the staff is throughout the day. Why do you need that? Well, because maybe you have somebody dropping off something, a client dropping off something, and you just want to see, is somebody going to be in the office to get this, so that you're not having stuff dropped off at an office staff today. So first you get our host schedule. Next you have the LAER news. This is our internal company newsletter. I encourage everybody to go check this out once a month. We email it out to you. It's just a 4-page newsletter, but I'm gonna reduce this a little bit so you can see it. It's just a 4-page newsletter about stuff happening within the company, but we always share latest tools, great books that will change the way you think. We have movie recommendations, things like that. But I always like this part that kind of just lets you know what's happening in the lives of our agents, who got married, who had a death in the family, who had a new baby, so that you know what's happening in the lives of your fellow LAER agents. And by the way, you can go down and click all the previous issues. So right now, the March issue has not come out yet. The most recent one is our February issue, but you can go down and click any of the previous issues to get caught up on things happening within the brokerage. Next, the recently joined section. This just takes you down to this. The marketing section takes you down further into some of the house icons down here. Most of these additional ones just take you further down the page. So why don't we start exploring and kind of getting further down into the page to see what's there. Okay, first section up here is resources for recently joined agents of LAER. So if you are new to LAER, which I could see a couple of you recently joined, you'll want to take a look at this section. The first but is the program and services guide. That's the guide we started with. I told you could go to laerrealty.com/success tools, and it brings you to our program guide. You can actually head over there, scroll to the bottom, and then click the PDF version. And then it'll download it and you can print it, take notes, but also you'll then have hyperlinks to all the great information we have. Next is frequently asked questions. So if you're a LAER agent, you know that if you need anything ever, you could just email happyagent@laerrealty.com. But maybe it's late at night on a Saturday and you have a quick question about something. You can head over to the LAER GPS, and we put like a few hundred of the most frequently asked questions for our agents right there. And then last, tell the world. It's just social media pieces, marketing pieces, letters, so that you can let your clients know that you recently joined our brokerage. So that's kind of just some recently joined agent resources. Then we're going to go down to our recent additions. So if, by the way, you recently joined LAER and you don't see your picture here or your welcome, we're probably missing something from you. As soon as we have your photo and your bio, we then introduce you to the agent community here. So if you don't see yourself, there's more here. If you click view more, because you might have been introduced already. We add a lot of agents every month, so they kind of cycle through really quickly. But if you don't see your info there, it's probably because we're missing a photo or a bio, because we want our agents to click on it and get to learn a little bit about you, what office you're in, why you're in real estate, things like that. All right, now the marketing, branding, etc. So we built out a very robust marketing, branding, and presentation section. I will tell you the most clicked button in our entire site at LAER Agent Services is this button right here, Guides, Presentations, Brochures. So we're going to click it now. You're going to probably come back and click it later because this is where agents love to spend a lot of time. We constantly add stuff here. And you're going to see this is, for the most part, Canva created pieces. So we're scrolling down. I always like to tell people there's a little trick to this in that when you get to the very bottom, there's a load more. Because I don't know why the website does this. It drives me crazy. But you see how it's 3 across of stuff that you can click on? For some reason, the very last one always just shows 1. So there's only 1 here. So you might think that there's no more content. But if you keep scrolling, there's a load more button because there's plenty more stuff. So you got to hit that load more button a few times to kind of see everything. So on here, you're going to find listing presentations, buyer guides, seller guides, brochures, all kinds of content for your business. So most of these pieces are Canva templates. So let's talk for a few minutes about Canva. First off, if you're a LAER agent, then you know we have Zara as well, our Zara marketing platform. Most of these pieces are in Zara as well. And the benefit of going into Zara is you won't have to add your photo and bio to everything because Zara is going to add it for you. Many agents do prefer using Canva because they're just used to Canva and they like to go in and make changes, delete pages, add pages. By the way, you can do all that in Zara as well. But if you're an agent from another brokerage or you are a LAER agent and you just prefer using Canva, everything you need is right here. So let's take a look at a couple things, first of all, so that I can explain what you're clicking on. All right, the first one we're going to just take a quick look at is this for sale by owner guide that we updated in 2025. We're going to open this and you'll see that if you open anything here, it opens as a template. So this says view template. And now I'm going to open an editor. So let's talk about Canva for a second, just in case you're not using Canva already as an agent. If you're not using it, you probably should be using it for your business. Canva is a tool that makes it super easy to create branded pieces. So when I just opened that as a template, it opens into my Canva. So what this means is if you have a Canva account, by the way, there's 2 versions of Canva. In case you don't have Canva yet, there's a free version and a paid version. The paid version is something like $13 or $14 a month, so it's relatively inexpensive. And I think it's not a bad idea to always have the paid version. For the biggest reason why is because when you're creating branded pieces, social media pieces, brochures, presentations, when you're creating any branded pieces, you will want to use stock photos. So this guide here that I just opened is a template. So when you open a template, it becomes your piece. In other words, you can go in and add your logo, your picture, your contact information. The next person who clicks on that template link is not going to see your changes, because as soon as you open it into your Canva, it is now your piece. So you can make whatever changes you want. It does not affect the master template. So going back to the free version versus the paid version of Canva. On the paid version of Canva, roughly $14 a month, you get tens of millions of stock images. For example, this picture on the front cover of this magazine. So this booklet for sale by owners, if you're working for sale by owners, is a 29-page guide. So you would print it and bind it, and it's designed to explain to the consumer steps to selling their own house. But as you will see as you go through this, of course, by the end of this, they will not think that it's super easy to sell their own house. So it goes through like pricing, how to market it, how to host open houses, how to stay safe, safety tips, due diligence. It goes through negotiations, evaluating offers, the legalities of what they can say and can't say, what a closing looks like, things like that. So the point of it is, if you see a for sale by owner and you want to go knock on the door and introduce yourself, you want to have an item that you could give them with your name and contact information. And by the way, that's on there too. I didn't go all the way to the end of this, but if you get to the very end, you would put your photo and your bio and your contact information. So let's go back to the beginning. This page here is a stock photo. So this is why I prefer the paid version of Canva over the free version of Canva. This photo is a stock image, and I'm going to guess that this is because we pay for Canva. So if the person who designs the template, which is our company, if the person who designs the piece uses an image that is from the paid version of Canva, and then you're using the free version of Canva, when you open this document, you're going to see a Canva watermark across this image. So does that mean you can't use the whole for sale by owner guide? No, you can still use the entire piece. You just have to change out images. So because we do tons and tons of branding pieces, we like to have tens of millions of stock images to choose from. So many of our pieces will have images from the paid version of Canva. Like I said, if you're using the free version, then occasionally you're going to see one of our pieces and it's going to have a Canva watermark across the image. All you have to do is switch the image. So you would just click on the image, and I'm going to do pretty living rooms. I want pictures of pretty living rooms. And let's see, it gave me a bunch. Now, if you guys could see this, let me make my screen. I think I can make it slightly bigger. Let's see. There we go. Okay. So I'm going to do that again. If I go to pretty living rooms, what you'll see is I typed in, I went under elements and I said, I want pictures of pretty living rooms, because maybe I'm using the free version of Canva and I have a big Canva watermark across here. So when it gives you pictures over on the left-hand side of pretty living rooms, you will see some of them have this little crown in the lower right-hand corner of the image. That image is only available for a premium Canva user. So that means if you're using the free version of Canva, you can't use any of the images that have the little crown in the bottom. Let's just see. I don't like any of these pictures. Couch. We'll just do pictures. Room with couch. All right, this one, that's the one I like, of course, has a little crown on it. Let's see if we can find one that I like without the crown on it. And just so you know, even if you're using the free version of Canva, there's literally millions and millions of photos, even for the free version. This one, if I were to use this one, of course, then I have to change this to make it so I can see all the letters a little bit better. But that's easy to do. But the point is, you can use all of the pieces that we have here, even if you're opting for the free version of Canva. So as you can see, I just made a couple changes to this so that the for sale by owner is in black now, easy to see. And this particular image that I used is available to anybody. So that's a free user version of a photo. So if you're using the free version, you can use everything that we have. We have all these presentations, buyer guides, seller guides, investor guides, brochures, presentations. Even if you're using the free version of Canva, you can use every single piece we have. I just want you to know that you will occasionally have to do what I just did, which is change out a photo to use a free photo. So that is the for sale by owner guide. Let's look at a few other things here, because this is what I want you to know. We spend countless man hours into our content. We want to have the best content. So for example, that for sale by owner guide, that is not a piece of fluff that you drop off at somebody's house. It's beautiful for sure, but it's also chock full of real content. All the things that the consumer should think about if they're going to sell their house. What do they have to disclose? What are the safety things they should think about? How much liability they have when they are selling their own house. We build it all into the presentation or into the booklet. But that's how everything here is. Every piece we build here is thoughtful. Let's take a look at some others. I like these buyer, and we have one for buyers and one for sellers, like an intake booklet. So if you were meeting a buyer for the first time and you have a buyer package, by the way, all these can be customized. You could change out logos, you can put your contact information. This is a 8-page buyer intake document. So you're meeting a buyer for the first time. You want to blow people away and look super professional at your buyer appointment. Number one, have a buyer presentation. Don't worry, we have you covered. We have one here. Have a really good buyer intake form that's not just fluff. This buyer intake form has just so much content in here, not only about who they are, what they're looking for and features of a property, things that they like or dislike. Like, do you like hardwood floors? Do you not like hardwood floors? Things like that. But additional notes like what motivated them, what their ideal home looks like, things like that. So that's the buyer intake. We also have a seller intake, but imagine you show up to your buyer appointment, you have a unbelievable presentation, and then you have a package with how to buy a house, buyer booklet, buyer intake form. You're gonna look really professional. So there's lots of other pieces here. Oh, there's an expired listing pack. Just like I just showed you the for sale by owner packet, we also have an expired listing packet. These are the reasons why your house didn't sell. So again, open that, you customize it. If you're an agent that is reaching out to expired listings, I would utilize that booklet. Many years ago, when I first got into real estate, all my business came from expired listings. And it was because I wasn't doing a mailer. I wasn't calling people. I was showing up the morning that their property expired. I'd go knock on the door with a packet, with a package to hand somebody. And I'd do it early in the morning while people are getting ready for work and school. I'd go knock on the door and say, introduce myself and say, I noticed that your contract expired with your brokerage. I just want to drop off some information. If it piques your curiosity, my card is in there and I would love to have a further conversation with you. So that I was the first one to actually get in front of expired. So this booklet is so good that you could do the same exact thing. So you have a really strong book to articulate your value and what makes you different. So this is a book. This one is 9 pages. Why my home didn't sell. Things that they should think about when they're considering their next agent. So tons of stuff on here, but a couple things that I think are super, super important. I want to talk about the buyer presentation. Let me show you the sample of our buyer presentation. Just got to find it. Here we go. I'm going to show you the New England buyer presentation. So this presentation is you're working with a buyer, and one of the reasons this is so important, by the way. So this is like in a PowerPoint format. The idea behind this is you would show up at your appointment with a laptop or a tablet, and you would say, I have a short presentation I want to go through with you to show you best practices in getting you into the home of your dreams. Now, why is this essential? Up until August of 2024, in my opinion, many real estate agents did not work with a buyer contract. So we had a couple states where it was mandatory, but for the most part, agents did not have a buyer sign a buyer contract. So up until 2024, it's always been kind of an industry norm that if you had listing contracts signed for real estate agents, that's kind of like money in the bank that that property is going to end up selling. But on the other hand, the way real estate agents often thought about buyers is that if you had 10 buyers you were working with, that was not money in the bank. In other words, there was a lot of things that could go wrong that they would not end up buying through you. Maybe they went to an open house, bought through somebody else, things like that. Well, I think one of the upsides to all the changes from 2024, in that now buyers must be under contract if you're going to go show them property, is that in many cases, that buyer contract is as good as a listing contract. They're going to buy through you if they're going to buy in X number of months. That's so much better than where we were prior to August 2024, that it was like throwing spaghetti against the wall. Maybe they buy, maybe they don't, maybe they work with you, maybe they don't. So now let's talk about presentations, because for many real estate agents, at least the agents that are really good at getting listings, most of them have a presentation. In other words, they're good at getting listings because they're really good at articulating their value in a consistent way. And the best way to articulate your value in a consistent way is to have a presentation. I've said this during many of our classes that presentation is your checklist manifesto. It's the things that you make sure you cover during your listing presentation if it's a seller, or a buyer presentation if it's a buyer. This adds consistency to your business so that every time you're in front of the client, you're saying the same thing and you're covering the same key points. Because it's my opinion that when you get to the end of a listing presentation, if you have objections at the end of the presentation, that is a sign that you should go back and rework the presentation and fill in that hole so you don't have that objection the next time. Address it right in the presentation. A really strong presentation, you get to the end and there is no objection. So when it comes to sellers, many agents were really used to having a presentation because we inherently knew that we were asking the seller to commit to us for a long period of time. And because we knew that, we knew we had to get good at articulating the value, so we created a presentation so we could cover these key points so that the seller would feel really comfortable signing a long-term contract with us. So that's why a seller listing presentation, which we have several of them to choose from in our LAER agent services, but now we need that for buyers too, because now inherently we're asking a buyer to commit to us for hopefully a long term. Maybe 6 months, whatever your term is, we're asking the buyer to sign on the dotted line that you're going to commit to working with us to buy a house. So our checklist manifesto is our buyer presentation. We want the consumer to feel super comfortable signing with us. So first thing I want to note for anybody that's watching today that is not a LAER agent, number one, make sure that your brokerage is, if you're going to use any of these tools, make sure they're in line with your brokerage policies, number one. Number two, one of the things you'll see in many of our marketing pieces on our LAER agent services page is many of our pieces, we have two different versions, a New England version and a Florida version. The reason for this is because we as a brokerage practice two different types of agency in those areas. So many of you who practice in Florida know that transaction brokerage is the norm for Florida. That's a lower standard than what we practice in New England. New England, we practice traditional representation, traditional buyer representation, traditional seller representation. So why does it matter? Because we're making promises in our marketing pieces. So our buyer presentation and our buyer marketing pieces for New England should look different than our buyer presentation and marketing pieces for Florida, because there's two different sets of promises. Which brings me to everybody on this call. Your presentations are promises. So we've done most of the work here on hundreds of pieces for you. Buyer presentations, seller presentations, buyer guides, seller guides, you name it. We make it so easy that literally you could have any of these documents in 5 minutes. All you have to do is head over to LAER Agent Services, click on it. It opens up in Canva, change out your photo, change out your logo, put your name, stuff like that. But you're missing a step. The step is go through and read each piece and make sure you're articulating what you actually are promising to the consumer. So take the extra time, read through each thing that you are creating for your business and say to yourself, is this what I'm actually doing? Is this the type of representation that I practice, first of all? Because you don't want to overpromise. For example, I don't want a Florida agent taking our New England buyer presentation, because that New England buyer presentation has slightly different promises in it than the Florida version of it. But that's not even just on representation, it's on everything. So it's important to read through these pieces. Don't be lazy. This is your business. Go through and make sure that what you say you offer is what you actually offer. But let's dig into this buyer presentation for a minute because I want to give you an example of how this is not fluff. This is not like just pretty presentations. This is really good stuff that's going to help you convert more buyers, convert more sellers, make people feel really comfortable signing a contract with you. So the first few pages of this, I'll actually do it in presentation mode so that you can see. So this is, like I said, kind of like a PowerPoint presentation, so that you would show up at a client appointment with a laptop or with a tablet and say, I want to just go through a quick presentation with you to show you how I can help you get into the home of your dreams. You're going to customize it to you and your brokerage. We have already put in all the information about LAER. You're going to also add some testimonials because that makes people feel more comfortable. And then this goes right into a 10-step buying process. I'm going to whiz through most of this, but I want to show you a few key points. So it's a 10-step buying process that you're going to explain to the consumer. The first step of the process is evaluation, consultation, and representation. Bottom line, this is explaining to them why they need a buyer agent. It then goes into how agents are paid. So I'm going to show you in a second. We actually encourage you to screenshot whatever buyer contract you're using and talk about what you're promising to do for them when they sign the buyer contract. These are all the things I promise to do for you. And then equally, you're going to say, these are all the things that you agree to do for me, like be loyal and only work with me. Call me when you see a property that comes on the market, things like that. And then we actually go through the contracts. So I put a sample contract here, but this might not be the contract you use. You actually want to screenshot the contract you're using. And then, oops, my computer skipped ahead a little bit. But then you want to screenshot in a big section of how you're going to request for seller to contribute to the buyer fee if you're going to be doing that, which is in many cases on buy side transactions. So this is what I want to point out. This is a 10-step process to buying a house. And we lead with the piece that many agents put to the very end of the discussion. So many agents, when they go and meet a buyer for the first time, it's almost like they're afraid to talk about the money piece of it. So they kind of put it to the end of the presentation as an afterthought. But here's the problem with that. If you're leaving it to the end of your buyer consult, it's the number one thing that the buyer's thinking about. So you guys know in your own life, when you're fixated on something, it's really hard to hear anything else that somebody is saying. So we feel like it should go first. Let's talk about what I'm going to do for you, what you commit to when you sign a contract with me, how much that is going to cost, how we're going to get it subsidized by the client, and cover that at the very beginning so that now they can let go of that thought and hear all the other good things that you're going to do. So that's our take on it. That's why we lead with why the agent needs buyer representation, how they pay for it, how they can get it. Potentially, they can ask the seller to subsidize that if they don't have the funds for it. Then we can go into all the fun stuff, like determining a price range, evaluating mortgage options, shopping for more than just interest rates, the difference between pre-approval and pre-qualification, what is mortgage insurance. Step 3, how to evaluate communities. So things for them to think about, from how far is a community from their work. Do they need school reports? Because you can help get them access to school reports if that's something they're interested in. Where they can go research crime, community services, sensory considerations like that they should drive around wherever they're looking to buy a house. Are there farms? Are there airports? Is there a train track out back? And also how to evaluate property taxes and things like that. Next step is shopping for a home. So this is really, really important because it's a piece that many agents miss. Number one, at our company, we use Real Scout app for a property search because one of the things that you embed into your buyer presentation is how to search for real estate. If you are not having a conversation about this as part of your presentation, I promise you your clients are going all over the place to look for real estate. They're number one, going to Zillow. So do you want your clients on the Zillow app? If you're not having a conversation about Zillow in your buyer presentation, I promise you you're losing clients because Zillow is set up to get leads for other real estate agents who are paying for leads. So you want to make sure that your clients know how to shop for real estate. Where do they go? We educate them on Real Scout because that's the app we use for searching real estate. Because I say to agents, using Real Scout is like being your own Zillow, that you're not having to, like, the search capability is so good that the customer doesn't have to go to Zillow. I often say many agents use whatever the multiple listing service gives them for search capability. So they'll go into their MLS and set the consumer up on a search, and it's super clunky. And I say, if you're not in all states, I don't know all states, but in many states, if you're using the MLS search for your customers, setting up your customers in the MLS for searching real estate, that is the same as inviting them to Zillow or Redfin. So we know we don't want them going to Zillow, so let's put it into our presentation on why they should not be searching for a house on Zillow. First of all, the search does not update real time. So we say, I don't want you going to the Zillow app, because one thing that happens with clients is they search on Zillow, they fall in love with the home of their dreams, and they find out that house went under agreement last week and it just hasn't been updated on Zillow yet. By using my platform, it's real time. You're not going to fall in love with a house that went under agreement a week ago. Second of all, Zillow does not allow for a super narrow targeted search. In most areas, it's $50,000 search increments. Why does Zillow do that? Zillow wants to have the widest possible range of houses because they want to be able to send a ton of houses to the client. Even though the client may not qualify for that because they couldn't narrow their search, they could only go within $50,000 increments. Also, you can educate them that oftentimes the consumer thinks they're contacting the list agent by reaching out to the agent on Zillow. That is not the case. They're usually reaching out to an agent paying for leads. And one way to easily encourage the consumer from going to Zillow is to say, listen, if you're searching on Zillow, you're going to get inundated by sales calls by real estate agents and mortgage people who are paying for those leads. Bottom line, you have to have a slide in your buyer presentation discussing why the consumer should use your search portal rather than the outside search portals. Same with Redfin. So unless, of course, if you're a Redfin agent, I don't know where everybody on the call today works. If you're a Redfin agent, by all means, they should be on the Redfin app. But for all the rest of us, we don't want our consumers shopping for a home on Redfin. That means we have to understand how to sell that. So one of the things that's been really clear with this whole Compass Redfin partnership is Redfin said that on their search pages, they don't always disclose property history. So for example, if the house has been on the market for a while or has had price reductions, that is not going to be apparent on many of the pages of the Redfin site. That's good for our buyers to know. That's a reason why you would tell your buyer, hey, don't go to Zillow because you're going to get inundated by sales calls and it's not updated real time. So you're going to fall in love with the house that's under agreement. And don't go to Redfin either because you're not going to get all the information. Like, has this house been on the market for 6 months? That's information you should know. So it's important for us to understand as real estate professionals so we can properly educate our clients. We also want to make sure the consumer knows. That's why we've built it into the presentation here, because the buyer presentation is our checklist manifesto. It's all the checkpoints we want to make sure the consumer knows. You're going to make sure they know that if they go to an open house, they are going to let the agent know they are represented. We're also going to make sure that consumer knows if you see a for sale by owner and you love it, you contact the agent because they are represented and the agent will reach out to the for sale by owner for them. We then talk about how we help with property due diligence, pricing and offer strategy, talk a little bit about bidding wars, writing an offer, what they have to know, like what happens when you write an offer, what happens if the offer is rejected, what does that mean? What if it's accepted? What does that mean? Talk about different types of inspections that people can do. What to do if there's too many repairs. What is a home warranty? Who buys a home warranty? Then you're going to talk about next steps after the inspection from appraisal and mortgage conditions, things like that. One of the slides that we have in this buyer presentation is in there. Part of our checklist manifesto is to prevent mortgage declines. So we're going to educate the consumer on our presentation about, hey, don't go buy a car. Don't co-sign a debt for a family member. Don't make huge deposits into your bank accounts. Don't get sucked into the free financing of furniture for your new home because we know that's going to end up on their credit report, and that payment, even though it's free for 6 months or whatever, they're going to use that payment in calculating debt. So we got to make sure we're educating as part of our checklist manifesto for buyers. We're going to educate them. We then talk about homeowners insurance, things that, especially in Florida, like it's going to be hard to get insurance if that house has a roof that's 9 years old. That's going to be a consideration. So we're going to talk about it in our presentation. And then we talk about the closing, what the closing, the walkthrough looks like, what the closing documents are, things like that. So this is a pretty comprehensive buyer presentation. And as you can see, it's not like heavy lifting, but it's all important. Every single piece of it is important. So imagine yourself meeting with a buyer for the first time. You show up to your buyer appointment. You have a presentation that you show on your laptop or your tablet. You have a buyer package. So that package would include like your buyer intake form. You might include this buyer guide, all printed and bound. We'll take a quick look at that. So we have a really nice, this is like 8.5 by 11. Agents print this. It's 18 pages about buying a home, things to buy. So this would print in 8.5 by 11 paper. You can customize it any way you want. At the end, it's got your contact information, your picture, stuff like that. So that's going to be in your package with your buyer intake form. You might also have, let's just see, a brochure about your company. If you're a LAER agent, we have a nice 4-page brochure here that you can access and you can add your contact information, etc. But definitely a good idea to have a brochure about your company. I would also say this is a 4-page brochure about LAER. You should also have your resume as a real estate agent, like a bio or resume. There's other cool things you could put in here as well. like your trusted vendor list. We're a huge fan, or I'm a huge fan of keeping a list of all of your favorite vendors. And because those people are your sphere of influence for referrals. So you always want to be referring your trusted vendors. So have a nice organized list of all of your vendors that you work with that you put in your buyer packages and your seller packages, etc. So you can put that in your package. Let's see. There's a little booklet here about buyer agency. You could put in there as well. So as you can see, there's just tons of stuff that you can include in a buyer package or a seller package. There's also a document here that compares rent, like the cost of renting versus buying. Let's just see if we could find that. Owning versus renting. That would be cool to put into your buyer package. I don't remember what price we did this at, but all of it's editable. So I think we did this. Okay, so if you rent today at 2,000, that's the same as a home purchase of 300,000. Rent of 2,500 is the same as a price of 350,000. So this shows if you're paying 2,500 a month in rent after 5 years, you've paid $150,000 in somebody else's mortgage. So I would include that in my package as well. So that's kind of an overview of buyer stuff. We also have a Florida buyer presentation. As I mentioned, the Florida one's just going to have less fiduciary promises. We also have tons of listing presentations here as well. So let's talk for a minute about executing on some of this stuff. So we have the list of 10 things that we're going to write down that we're going to go execute on after we leave today's program. Because I already said, we don't want you to sit through a 3-hour program. By being in the 3-hour program, you're in the top 1% of real estate agents, that you're super committed to your business, so committed that you're willing to sit on a Zoom call for 3 hours to learn about ways to better build your real estate business. That's a really good sign for your business 5 years from now. But what's even a better sign is that you leave today's call with a list of 10 things you're going to go execute on, and you actually start executing. Because it is completely possible that you sit through this program today and get all kinds of wonderful ideas for your business, and then you do nothing with them. That does happen, unfortunately, too often. So what I would say that you need to execute on is, number one, if you don't have a buyer presentation, then you're definitely going to have a difficult time, number one, articulating your value to buyers, articulating it consistently to consumers so that every single time you meet with somebody, they're getting a consistent level of service. And if you can't articulate your value, it's going to be really difficult to get them to sign a long-term buyer contract. So you have to have a buyer presentation, in my opinion. This makes it so easy that when you meet a buyer for the first time, you're not going to be like, oh, I don't want to ask them to sign a contract. No, you're going to say, come into the office. I'm going to make you a cup of coffee, and I'm going to show you how I help my clients. And then you take out your computer, you open your presentation, you go through each of the steps, and you've covered really important stuff so that you create clarity. Isn't that what great real estate agents do? Is they create clarity for people? For the consumer, buying a house or selling a house is chaos. It's like jumbled chaos. It's numbers, it's stress, it's moving, it's change. That freaks people out. The agents that are really good at just creating clarity for people unjumbling the mess of information in a nice, clear, concise, and consistent manner, those agents excel in real estate. So you have to have a buyer presentation. That's number one thing on your list today, if you do not have one already. Secondly, you need a seller presentation. Hopefully you already have one, but if you don't, we have several to choose from here as well. So if you scroll through, let's see if I can find one. These, first of all, there's high performance buyer presentations and high performance listing presentations. Check those out, even if you're not into high performing homes. They are pretty cool buyer and listing presentations as well. But if you're into sustainability, and we're going to get to hear from our chief sustainability officer in a little bit. If you're into sustainability, we've built some great buyer and seller presentations you will definitely want to check out. As well, we have just regular listing presentation here. So just like our buyer presentation, this is our listing presentation. Same thing. If you do not have a listing presentation, go check out the ones we have. And these are all designed to show up and bring your computer and present. So I'll show you this in less than 30 seconds just to show you how much information is in here. All of it is meant to be customized to you. It's all designed around, we're realtors, so it talks about why work with a realtor. So 3, pricing and selling, how you're going to help them with contracts and negotiations, following a code of ethics because we are realtors. It then goes into all the things that a great agent does and the number of minutes it takes. So here we're just showing the value we bring to the table, how much time we spend with all the little teeny things. By the way, what you're articulating here is all the chaos that you are taking off their hands. Hey, these are all the things that I am going to do. I am going to take all this chaos and turn it into simple clarity for you. So for us, we then talk about some of the value we bring. Agent gets the sign calls instead of it going to a floor time. We control the destiny of any leads that come in. We talk about our marketing tools and professional photography, the fact that we syndicate to all different places, what we do for social media marketing. We talk about our Real Scout app. The fact that we are experts in green living. I also build into these the fact that our agents are well trained and that we have classes 24/7 for agents to participate in. We then have a whole section on pricing strategy. So I don't want to go into all this, but it's really a well-built listing presentation. And of course, you can customize it. So number 1 on your list of 10 things to execute on is your buyer presentation. Number 2 is your seller presentation. Number 3, and we're going to put them all on one line, your buyer package, your seller package, and your investor package. These are packages that have a couple different purposes. A package is, when I say package, I mean like a folder, a branded folder with your logo on the front of the folder, and information that is pertinent to a buyer, information that's pertinent to a seller, or information that's pertinent to an investor. And all of that we have already created. So like I said, your buyer package is going to have our buyer guide, the buyer intake form, any other tools like your vendor, favorite vendor list you could put in there. All that stuff can go into your buyer package. For the seller package, we have a seller guide, a seller intake form. We have a brochure about how the market affects property prices. We have a brochure in here about why a seller should consider paying a buyer agent fee. We have the brochure, our brokerage brochure, things like that. So everything you need to create a really impressive seller package is right here. The third part is the investor package. Same thing. We have a great investor guide. Customize the investor guide, which you'll find here, and then also add some of the other stuff like a seller intake or a buyer intake form, your vendor list, things like that. So point is, you don't have to go invent anything. We've invented it all here, and we've created it all here for you. Go grab it all and create your buyer package, your seller package, your investor package. Some of you are saying, well, I'll wait till I have an appointment before I go create my packages. That is a mistake. Go create your packages now. When you have downtime, that's when you create your packages. So I say you should always have 10 buyer packages, 10 seller packages, and 10 investor packages on hand, ready to go. Because first of all, just the fact that you have them completed, that is a specific energy. Now, we don't spend a lot of time in today's program talking about the energy of doing business, but there is an energy of doing business. In other words, we are transmitters of energy. We take in energy, we put out energy. And if you're an agent that is scared about what happens when you get your next customer, like that puts out an energy to the universe. You're not going to get business. When you have all of your packages ready, 10 buyer, 10 seller, 10 investors, that is a very specific energy. You know you're ready for business, and you will start attracting business because you're ready for business. So have them ready. I also tell people, put them into a big Tupperware bucket and have them in your car so that you always have them in your car. So that when you go to Starbucks and you're picking up your coffee, or you go to the hair salon, every single time I go to the hair salon, I hear somebody is looking to buy or sell a house. It's so rare that there's not somebody in a chair around me talking about real estate. You want to have in your bag, anytime you go to the hair salon, a package about buying or selling or investing in real estate. So when you're getting your hair done, you hear somebody over here is thinking about selling their house, you can say, hey, I have a package for you. I want to hand to you. If I can be of service when you're ready to sell, please, my card is in there. So be ready for business. Have your packages done, your buyer package, your seller package, your investor package, all done. So you are open for business. So let's go back to the homepage. That's a lot of content already, but already you should have some things written. All of this was under LAER Agent Services, under guides, presentations, brochures. You could have all this stuff done by this afternoon. Let's say you stay on the call till noon today. Afterwards, you could spend another hour, maybe 90 minutes, if that, and have these all done today. So put those at the top of your list of 10 things you're going to execute on. Let's go explore some of these other buttons we have here. The first one is NAR settlement resources. These are resources we put together in August of 2024. So first of all, we wrote our own book, the LAER playbook to the new real estate forms. And at that time, we kind of made a book of all the new forms for the states we do business in. And we kind of highlighted what the new forms mean, things like that. You probably don't need those anymore, but there's some other really good content on here, especially around buyer agency. So we have, first of all, some great articles here. So we went out and collected from third-party sources information that might be helpful when you're working with buyers and sellers. For example, sometimes you're working with a seller who says, I just got an offer on my property, and they're asking for me to pay the buyer fee. And the seller's like, I'm not paying the buyer fee. Why would I pay the buyer commission on this? They're not representing me. So we have some great articles here that explain to a seller that if you are unwilling to pay the buyer agent fee, then you are limiting the market. Now, we know real estate is a byproduct. What you get for your house is a byproduct of supply and demand. The bigger the supply, of real estate, the less that you're going to get for the property. But also that comes down to the supply and demand of the number of buyers. So we want the consumer, the seller, to know that the more buyers for your property, the more you're going to get for the property. Because now there's a bigger demand for your property, then the price is a byproduct of the demand. So if you're unwilling to pay a buyer agent fee, that means that you are going to limit the number of potential buyers because some buyers just don't have the money to pay the buyer agent. So if you want to expand your buyer pool, then you're going to be open to the idea of paying a buyer agent fee. So, but they don't want to hear from us, their agent. They want to hear from third-party experts that is the case. So we have some great articles here where third-party people talk about that. The other piece that you'll find under this section is some great documents around why a buyer needs a buyer agent. Because in August of 2024, this other thing popped up that buyers are like, well, if I don't have the buyer fee, then can't I just go to the list agent and buy direct from the list agent? Or could I just represent myself? Or could I just hire an attorney to represent me? So there's some great articles in here as well about that. Like, why does a buyer need to be represented, or why should they be represented? We know that as real estate professionals, that they should be represented to make sure that their interests are all covered, but we want our consumers to, we need to be able to articulate it. So there's some great pieces here that articulate that for the consumer. All of that is under marketing, branding, presentations right here, and under NAR settlement resources. We also have a section here of social media assistant. I'll have Sergio from our marketing department give you a little rundown on that shortly. If you're a LAER agent, we also have a button for special marketing requests. What are the special marketing requests we see the most? Well, first of all, you can ask for anything. If you go through all the marketing stuff we have, all the branded pieces, and you don't see what you need, maybe we get lots of agents that put ads in like church bulletins, or they do like supermarket displays or mailers, things like that. You want us to design something, we're happy to design it. Just go to special marketing requests. But definitely what we see a lot of too is if you want to do a market update report, like an image for your social media to show what the local real estate market looks like, how many new listings, under agreements, sold, things like that, average price for the market. You can request that at special marketing requests. It goes direct to our marketing department and they will take care of it. We also have a section here of open house resources I wanted to show you really quick. Really cute stuff for your open houses. First of all, there's some really good sign-in sheets. My favorite sign-in sheet is this feedback survey, especially in a shifting market like we're seeing in many of our markets right now. In other words, say 4 or 5 years ago, if you put a house on the market, it was definitely going to sell. Now we see not necessarily. A seller can't put a house on higher than market value and expect to sell. So we're seeing houses sit a little bit longer in some of the markets. So why not use the open house as an opportunity to collect feedback for a future price reduction if necessary? So instead of just a plain old sign-in sheet where people just sign their names, have them fill out a feedback form where they tell you, like, what did you think of price, location, floor plan, and they can leave little notes about the property, etc. So that's under open house. We also have these little signs. Sometimes you want to put a sign in the house about things that somebody should look at as they're going through the property. We also have these little open house marketing, like this is a pop-by tag So if you want to give out a little gift, memorable gift at your open house, some agents do microwave popcorn, and these little tags just say, thanks for popping by the open house with your name, your contact information, and you just print them and tie them to a little thing of microwave popcorn. And then I love this, the activity sheets for kids. Oftentimes we do open houses and somebody comes through the open house who's would be really interested in kind of pondering and walking around and enjoying the open house, but sometimes they have kids and the kids are like rambunctious, want to get out of the house. So we say always at your open house, have a little kids activity center, even if it's just at the kitchen table. So we have some coloring sheets for the kids, a word search, design your own for sale sign, draw a picture of your perfect home, a little maze, things like that, so that you can create a little activity center for the kids at your next open house. So all that stuff is under open house resources. Next, commercial resources. So the market has contracted in many markets last year from the previous year. So many agents are looking for new ways and new spheres that they can go tackle to get more business, to make up for the constriction that they are experiencing. One of the ways to do that is with commercial real estate. So we've had a big focus and emphasis over the last 6 months on commercial real estate. First of all, we do commercial training. If you go to laerrealty.com/training, you could see all of our upcoming classes, because every month we add new commercial training classes. But if you go here, which is laerrealty.com/commercial training, you'll see all of our recent classes. So the most recent one was environmental issues in commercial real estate. We then have mastering commercial leases, part 1, part 2, part 3, and part 4, all on commercial leases. And as we do these classes, we're also expanding like our documents and our forms. So we created some really good tenant rep agreements, fee schedule to go on LOI or lease agreement, commercial tenant worksheets. So you'll see we've created some really good checklists here. All of that is at laerrealty.com/commercial. We also have marketing pieces here, commercial listing presentations, commercial offering memorandums, all of our commercial logos, things like that. So great tools here. All of that is under our commercial, under marketing, under commercial resources. Next, I'm going to skip this signs, apparel, and marketing. I'm going to come back to that in a few. I do want to show you our ROAR report. This ROAR report is for you to send out to customers. In real estate, there's 2 types of newsletters for consumers. One is a newsletter that you print. So that's what we're going to cover here. There's also newsletters that are like email newsletters. This ROAR report is a printed newsletter. So this is for agents that like to have something to give out. These are great to put in your buyer and seller packages, but they're also great for mailers. They're also great for writing little articles about your favorite vendors and then having those vendors share the newsletter at their place of business. So you'll see, by the way, when you click on it, it's we update the newsletter every month. So this is the March version, but also we have 2 versions, 8.5 by 11, which would print on 4 pages of 8.5 by 11 paper, or we have the big 11 by 17 paper. In other words, you would just print back and front of a big 11 by 17 and fold it. So if you click on this, we just circle anything that you would have to change out. Like, first of all, the whole newsletter is customizable. So if you wanted to write an article about your favorite mortgage person because your mortgage person helps pay for the mailer, you could take out a whole article and feature your favorite mortgage person. But also, so any of it's customizable. We put these big red circles on the stuff that you have to customize, but 100% of this is customizable. You can change out logo, you could change the name of the report, you could do whatever you want. But this is a newsletter that is meant for consumers. What I love about this is getting it out to local businesses. I share this every month, but I have a local hardware store, like a little kind of mom and pop hardware store. And when I go there, there's always a LAER report at the front cash register. When you go to, they have like a big area where you go to check out. There's always the LAER report because one of our agents, Rosemary, updates it each month, and she must know somebody at the local hardware store. And she asks if she can leave those there, and they say yes. So why not create those and leave them at local pizza shops and local, wherever people might pick it up, a local coffee shop, etc. There's also a button here for logos and images. That's super helpful for LAER agents. If you're designing your own stuff and you just need access to logos, they're there. We also have a whole page here of seasonal pop-by tags. So these are all different. We always say, like, get out and get belly to belly with people as much as possible. Get out and deliver little items of value to see how your past customers are doing. So we create these pop-by tags that you can use to create little items of value. So for example, spring's coming. So let's pull this one. This is a template for your referrals make my business bloom. So you would print these out and tape them or tie them, these tags, to a box of seeds, for example. But we have all different holidays, things like that, so that you can think of cool ways to get out and give a small item of value to your past clients. We also have a listing description generator. This uses AI to help create a listing description for your new listing. Super easy. Of course, you could just use ChatGPT. If you're not familiar, don't have ChatGPT, you can fill this out. This is available for any agent. You don't have to be a LAER agent. This description doesn't go anywhere except to the email that you put in. So we don't even receive it. It just generates it and it goes direct to you. It asks you some questions about the property and then creates a nice listing description in 3 seconds. The one caveat I always say, double check the listing description to make sure that there are no fair housing issues in it. For example, you don't want it to say that it's a great neighborhood for families, for example, which could be considered a fair housing violation, things like that. So you have to be the one that reads it and make sure that there's no fair housing violations. We also have an agent bio generator because this is a pet peeve of mine. The first thing consumers do when they are referred to a real estate agent is the same thing that we do when our kid brings home somebody they're dating. We go to Google and we Google the person. And when you Google a real estate agent, typically what comes up on the first page of a Google search is their personal website, if they have one, their brokerage website, their realtor.com bio, their Zillow bio, their homes.com bio. Many agents don't even realize that they have a Zillow, homes.com, and realtor bio, but you do. And it's not updated for most of you because you never went in and updated it. If you don't know how to update it, just Google, how do I update my realtor.com bio? And it will walk you through how to do that. But you should have a super strong bio anywhere the consumer's going to look, especially the items on the first page of a Google search. So this will create a bio. It emails it to you. It doesn't send it to us. It's just asks you some questions because people often don't do the bio because they don't even know what to say. So this will ask you some questions and then write a bio for you. So those are kind of the main things. Next, The next thing I'm going to do before we head out of the marketing section, I'm going to have Sergio come on for a few minutes and give you uh, quick a quick tutorial on our Zara marketing platform, first of all, for LAER agents. And he's just going to give you a quick rundown on our social media assistant. So Zara and social media assistant. And with that, Sergio, I'll let you take over for a couple minutes.
All right. Thanks, Stacy. Can you hear me well?
Yep.
Okay, awesome. Let me share my screen. I'm just going to go over a couple of things. This is mainly for our LAER agents, everything that you've seen so far, any agent can make use of, but the following things are for our LAER agents. First, I'm going to cover Zara. So Zara is a marketing platform that we use. It's very similar to Canva in terms of, like, you know, there's a design editor, you can change anything, you can move things around, but the benefit is that it is connected to the MLS. So you're able to bring in your photos, your listing information directly from the MLS, and all of that stuff is updated automatically. So if you upload new photos to the MLS, they will show up in Zara. With Canva before, what you would do is download the pictures from the MLS or maybe upload them to Canva from the link that your photographer sent to you. But with Zara, everything is all there and it's very simple to use. So let me give you a quick demo of what that looks like. So let me open up Zara. So this is the Zara dashboard. Now, as a LAER agent, you should be already signed in, but if you have any questions about how to sign in or almost any other questions, if you go to laergps.com, if you do a quick search for Zara, I have a whole article here on how to sign in. It kind of guides you through the whole process. If you're an existing agent or a new agent, the processes are a little different, but step by step. I also include some videos too, if you're more of a visual person. So once you have signed in, your dashboard will look just like this. Now, with Zara, you have your existing listings that will show up under My Listings. We also have it set up so when you have a new listing on the MLS, you'll receive an email that looks just like this. It says that your marketing materials are ready. That will then prompt you to sign into Zara, and you can go in and check out your marketing materials. Now, this is triggered anytime there's a status change on your listing. So when it goes live on the MLS, when there is an under agreement or sold, you'll receive an automatic email. So let me show you real quick. These are some that have been already generated. You also have the opportunity to generate these playbooks. They're called playbooks. So you get them automatically, but you can generate one of these manually. So if you know that, for example, you have a closing coming soon, or you have an open house coming soon, you can go into this playbooks section and click on generate. It's going to ask you for an MLS ID, and that's really all you need. So I'm just going to choose one of these that I had saved. Because this is an open house, it's going to ask you for a date and time for your open house. So we can go to our calendar here, maybe choose Saturday from 11 to 2, and then click next. It's going to ask you to select the agent. Most of the time it'll just choose the listing agent, but this is also useful if you're covering someone for an open house. You can type in your name and your information will show up. And then we'll click on Run Playbook. Now, it does take some time for the playbook to generate. It takes maybe about 5 minutes, so it's a good time to grab a coffee. Either way, you will receive an email saying that your playbook is ready to go. So we can look at maybe another one of these playbooks. Just click on this one here, just to show you what it actually looks like. So this is a just listed playbook that was generated. We include social media pieces right? We have different social media pieces as well as some print pieces. We have a flyer. We have a postcard, and then like a showing sheet. Now, the social media pieces and all of these pieces are very easy to use. You just click on one. You can download them immediately and use them by just clicking on the download button, or you can click on edit, and then this will then open up the Zara editor, where it's just like Canva. You can go in, you can change the font size, you can add text, you can change logos around if you want, change photos around. But the benefit is that if I click on this real estate button here, and it will search up the listing. This might be an older listing, so it might actually not come up. But let's see if we can find a newer one. Let's look for a different one. Here's one that we can probably use. Okay, so I will click on edit. There we go. So when we click on real estate, right, it'll actually bring up information about your listing. So anything that's on the MLS. So not just the photos, but also listing information, number of bedrooms, bathrooms, all of that stuff that's usually on the MLS. But in this case, I'm going to go click on the listing photos. Now, the photos will show up on your design based on the order that you uploaded them on the MLS. This agent, I believe, has updated their photos, so we can kind of go in, and it's as easy as dragging and dropping. So we can just drag the photo over and drop. Let's say I want this living room. Oh, that's already there. Maybe the kitchen, and maybe one of the bedroom. Just like that, I was able to drag and drop. And then from here, I can download the photo. You can download in different formats. We have PNGs, JPEGs, even PDFs. And it's as simple as just clicking on download. But with Zara, you're also able to connect your social media accounts. So if I want to post on Facebook or LinkedIn or Instagram, I can connect my accounts, and it'll ask you to connect your account. Now, there is one caveat to this, is that you do need a business Facebook account or a business Facebook page to post. If you haven't set one up yet, now's the time to do it. And, you can still share to your personal account. So you would post to your business page, and then from that business page, you can share to your personal account. Now, Zara will then create a caption using AI. It'll grab the property information, and then it will also grab your own contact information, and then include some hashtags. You can edit any of this, right? And it is AI generated, so just make sure that everything is accurate. You can rewrite it if you want something different. And then once you're ready to post, you just hit post. You don't have to upload things to Facebook. It's all ready to go. And so you can do this with your Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram account. So let's go back. My documents have now been generated for that open house that we created. I'm going to click on Go to Documents, and here they are. You'll notice that each playbook has just different materials. For example, the open house will have an open house sign-in sheet, and then a flyer, and then some social media pieces. And then any of these you can go in and edit. If you're happy with maybe this one, you can post directly as well. If you just click on it and then hit post, right, it'll ask you which channel to post to, and you can post directly. You don't have to go into the edit mode, but it's there if you want to add more information, if you want to add your photo, switch out photos, etc. Now, that is just one aspect of Zara. There are other sections that you can go into. There's our templates. So a lot of the templates that you saw already in from our Canva templates, you can also access them through Zara. For example, we have our Monopoly piece template here. We have different templates that we're kind of constantly bringing in to. We're always updating these, so keep an eye on these. But also this section where the templates are is where you can find the 4-page brochure. So the 4-page brochure looks just like, hold on, I don't have that slide, but I can show you what it looks like here. It prints out on 11 by 17. It works great if you have a nice luxury listing. You went out and got some great photos, some drone shots. Again, you just give it the MLS ID, and then hit apply. It will then bring in all of the photos and automatically lay everything out for you. You can then go in, search out the photos. You can add more text, remove text, and just like that, you're able to generate your 4-page brochure. You're always welcome to use the form on our LAER Agent Services page to request a 4-page brochure, but most of the time what we are doing on our end is exactly this. It's going into Zara, putting in the MLS number, and then sending you the brochure. We might do some small things where any of this text you can make larger if you want. You can change any of this. You can change the colors if you want. If you're in a specific team, you can switch out the logo as well. So it's all ready to go. One thing I do recommend is to name. I'm very guilty of this. As you can see, it says unnamed 80, but always name your design just so you can find it later on. And then sort of the last thing I want to go over is Zara itself has a lot of templates available. So, any of these, Instagram, Facebook, they even have door hangers, are available to use. Now, for the thumbnails for these, you'll notice that the colors are different. But if we click on one of these, once you open the design, and then some of these ask for an MLS ID number, like, this one's for an open house, so it will most likely ask for an MLS ID. But once you open it, it will apply all of the LAER colors, the logo. So let me give it an MLS ID. And there it is. So it shows up, this is the thumbnail, but it will actually be branded for LAER. So take some time. I do have a Zara class that I do monthly. If you want to join me, where I go, deeper into all of the functions and everything you can do with Zara. But it's a really great tool, and our agents like using it. We like using it as well, mainly because of that connection with the MLS. All right, so that's Zara. The next thing I wanted to go over is our monthly social media. So if you're a LAER agent, at the beginning of the month, you receive 6 to 8 social media pieces that cover 4 weeks of content. We send this to you as an email and text message. And then, apart from this content, we also have our social media library. We have about 5 years worth of content that you can kind of go through. These are all Canva templates. We give you content for buyers, sellers, holidays, Facebook covers, etc. We also give you suggested captions for all of these. So let me give you a quick demo of the social media pieces. Let me find it first. So you'll receive an email that looks just like this. So this is our last one for March. We have, again, our suggested caption that you can use. You can just copy and paste this. We are starting to include carousel posts now. So you can edit these in Canva and then download them and post them on Instagram. For all of these, you're able to just click on download and use the piece as is. But you can click on edit in Canva with any of these, view the template, and then from Canva itself, you can make any changes. You can add your own logo, etc. You can also share directly from Canva. So if you want to share it to Instagram, if you click on See All and scroll down to social, they have a lot of channels that you can share to. So not just Instagram, but Facebook, X, etc. You just need to connect them, and then from that connection, you can post directly on social media. Like I mentioned, you get all of these weeks worth of content. But if we scroll back up, we have a link to our LAER Marketing Center where you can find the social media library. This is where you can find different mindsets and quotes, keys to buying and selling. These are all searchable. We have different filters too. So if you want to search for content for buyers, just click on buyers. And then here is all of the content that we have available. Again, you click on that See More, and then these are just years worth of content. A lot of these are evergreen. You can always use them. And then we also have holiday posts. So we will send out holiday posts. These are kind of our latest ones for 2026. But if you want something different, you can go to this section and scroll down, and then we'll have different holiday posts. You can filter them out by month. So for example, we have March, and these are some other posts that we have done throughout the years. So that is our monthly social media. If you're LAER agents, make sure that you're getting these. If you don't see this email, let us know. And then Stacy, would you like me to do the demo?
Not yet.
No?
I have
Okay.
another section.
Awesome. So I'll talk to you guys in a bit.
All right. Awesome stuff. Next up, Craig, are you there?
I am here, yes.
All right. Next up, we have Craig, our amazing sustainability expert. Many of you guys know Craig because he is well known within the realtor organization. He travels all around the country teaching agents about green designation. And as we always say, like green designation and understanding sustainability is like an absolute must now, even if you're not into sustainability. It has become part and parcel of the entire industry. So, with that, welcome, Craig. Thank you for sharing some good info with us.
Thanks for the kind introduction, Stacy. I appreciate it. I'm going to switch to my screen here, bring up LAER Agent Services as well. I did want to make a point, though, to listening to both you and Sergio go through Zara and Canva. And when I was watching you earlier, like move the couch around and change the graphics so that it was a better color and stuff, I was just thinking, how many graphic designers have been put out of business, because of these platforms that are popping up and how easy they are to use. It's really kind of amazing.
100%.
Are you seeing my screen now?
Is it LAER Agent Services?
Yeah, it's LAER Agent Services.
Yep.
So I'm just going to go down to, there's a house in the agent toolbox section called Sustainability, in which we have a ton of resources there. And I'm just going to highlight a few of these that are in there, including, as Stacy already pointed out, we have some slide decks for buyer and seller representation, particularly if you're a green designated agent. But I think any agent right now, understands there's probably a value proposition, right, to high performance homes, right? Homes that perform better than average. I mean, who really doesn't want those at this point, particularly when it comes to a time where rising utility costs, insurance costs, not just flood insurance, but basic homeowners insurance costs, particularly for our floor agents, going through the roof. These homes that perform better do stand an excellent chance of lowering those utility costs, keeping control of them, but they also stand a chance, depending on the market that you're in and the state insurance commission, of lowering insurance rates too, with resilient building design and resilient building improvements for new and existing homes. So I think it is worth going through some of these slide decks just to understand the perception. And maybe there's just one piece in these slide decks that fits into the story you want to tell a buyer or a seller, right? And the cool thing about Canva and Zara is that you can move even the slide decks around, right? So you could move one of the pieces in the high performance home deck to the buyer agency deck. So there's a lot of different ways that these tools can be used. I want to highlight a few other tools that we have in the sustainability house. And I'd like to think, Stacey, and obviously you have been absolutely huge with this. We've created a home, and I think this speaks to the independence of our company and why I'm so happy about being here. We've created a home that, like no other brokerage in the country, has created for green designated agents, for agents that have an open mind about what a sustainable future might look like and how America's successful home and business ownership ties into some of the principles that we care about. So this is for everyone. Certainly, we've developed a lot of these tools specifically for our agents that have gone through the green designation training, but it really is for everyone. And I want to highlight a couple of things here. So the Green Building Registry is kind of interesting in that when I click on this, I'm going to go to where I live, Melrose, Massachusetts, little town north of Boston, about 25,000 residents, about 7,000 homes. And you can see that on this green building registry, this little thing that I just clicked that's in that sustainable home toolbox, the number of homes that are already listed on the green building registry with significant high performance building improvements, green building improvements. And I can scroll down on this map and I can find my home right here, my condo that we did a extensive gut renovation on in 2022. You can see it's Pearl certified, which is a NAR Reach partner and a LAER partner as well. I have a HERS index score of 59, which is pretty darn good for an 1895 Victorian, right? But I want to highlight a home across the street from mine and a relationship that I've developed with the seller or a potential seller, this homeowner that owns this property right here across the street from me. And it's a triple decker with solar PV, solar panels on the rooftop. PV stands for photovoltaics, turning the sun's photons into voltage. So those are the types of solar panels on the rooftops that create electricity for the homeowner. And I want to highlight one specific feature here. And unfortunately, this is just in Massachusetts. It doesn't apply to our Florida or Connecticut agents in our other areas. It's only Massachusetts that has this level of data that's available. But if you're entering information into MLS PIN, for instance, the predominant MLS in Massachusetts, and you have a home with solar panels on the rooftop, our MLS PIN asks for four very specific data fields to be entered. And many agents don't have a clue where to find those data fields. Their seller doesn't really have the information. And it's so sad because we've got a tool right here that we try to share with everybody. But we've got a tool right here that has the four data fields in here to fill out an MLS PIN. The year it was installed, the size of the system. This is a 6.08 kW solar PV system. The annual or estimated power production of that unit is also required in MLS PIN. And maybe the most important thing, who owns the system? So this is a seller-owned system in it, right? So the data fields in MLS PIN that many, many, many times go unfilled for these homes going on the market, which I follow all the homes in the state that go on the market. They are transacting every day with solar panels on the rooftop. And the number of times that agents aren't filling those fields in is really egregious to the industry, to appraisers looking to figure out how to comp this stuff, and even to underwriters that are trying to figure this stuff out as well. It's really important that we fill this stuff in, and it's really fairly easy to do. So I did want to share that resource with you from LAER Agent Services specifically. That's the Green Building Registry right here. Now, I would also like to just highlight, Stacy, and I know you know this because you're a green designated agent, that these homes with these high performance features like seller owned PV, we can use, it's not just about the comps when we're establishing value for these homes. And there's a list of appraisers that have gone through the valuation of sustainable buildings program that the Appraisal Institute offers that understand this value proposition as well. For instance, that home with host-owned solar PV, the remaining life of the system, she installed that in 2017. We consider 25 years the useful life of the system. So there's another 19 years of use for that home. And in those 19 years, it's going to produce income for that homeowner, the woman that owns that triple decker across the street from me, right? And we can use an income approach to add on top of the comps the contributory value of that home. So let's say there's a remaining $25,000 of contributory value. It comped out at 700, right? Maybe I am now, and justifiably can do so, listing it at 724.9. Maybe the market's softening a little bit and I want to keep it listed at 699, or the seller wants me to keep it listed at 699, but I have an additional $25,000 of value if that appraisal comes in soft and I've demanded a qualified appraiser, which I have a right to do as a listing agent. These are all things that we teach green designated agents, and we try to really provide the resources for you to be able to apply this to your business. And a great application, of course, is again these listing and buying presentations about the value proposition of hiring a green designated agent. So I wanted to just highlight that, Stacy, to our agents, that these are tools to be able to use. And I want to say one other thing too, just in closing, right? And maybe I'll share a cool video as well. But I wanted to say one other thing. We are an independent company, as you noted, right? And I have a lot of pride in that. You and I have been in the business for a long time. We've seen an ebb and flow. Sometimes right now, I think you're right. There's a movement towards some of the larger brokerages. But I remember 7 or 8 years ago that there was a movement towards the independents, right? So that ebb and flow goes back and forth. I personally love working at an independent, and for this company in particular, because I'll give you a specific example. So John Grimaldi's on this, and I just want to highlight John. John, thank you for just pitching in, right? So I got an email through Happy Agent from John saying, "Hey, this sustainability report that you guys produce, it's wicked long. It's too long for me. I would love it if we had just a short piece." And the timing, Stacy, couldn't have been better because I'm rethinking how we do the sustainability reporting for LAER, right? So I just want to say, like John, thanks, first of all. Great suggestion. I am going to definitely produce some short bullet point pieces that our agents can use that are more useful for many of them. But that's the real advantage of being in an independent, Stacy. Like the one that you run. We produce very specific resources. We take feedback from our agents. You're outstanding at this, and deliver on it. That's kind of what I love about being here, and I just thought I'd highlight that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I appreciate all the stuff that you do for sustainability. And like I said, one of the things I always try to remind our agents, and this is for agents everywhere, honestly, that we have a duty to work in the best interest of our clients. And so when you show up, because there's been cases, like legal cases, not against our company, thank goodness, but legal cases against real estate agents who go and do, for example, a market analysis on a property, not realizing that the property has sustainable features that have contributory value. And so they misprice a property because they were not educated. So That's why I'm a huge proponent that even if like green building and things like that is not your cup of tea, it kind of has to be your cup of tea if you are in real estate. Otherwise, potentially you could misrepresent a client. It's like a no-brainer. Everybody should be green designated, in my opinion.
I agree 100%. And if you're not green designated, and you look, we know that, some of this stuff has been politicized, unfortunately, and maybe some people are just not into it, Stacy.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. But for the sake of your clients, if they have some of these high performance improvements, maybe you should consider, if that's your place in in the world, to refer that business out to an agent that can deliver on these topics, right? And we've got plenty of them at LAER Space. So
All right, good stuff. I'm about to do a really fast presentation and I'm going to have Sergio come back on for you guys because Sergio built us something that's really cool. He's going to do the official rollout in at our sales meeting, which everybody, even if you're not a LAER agent, you're always welcome to attend our sales meeting. You can get a link to that at laerrealty.com/training. But I think this does come down to being an independent and being a little bit smaller. Is that when you go out into the world and you see cool things, you bring them back. And like this was something I saw out in the world. I'm like, Sergio, this would be super cool if we could do something like this. And voila, in a few weeks, Sergio, I forgot about it. And then Sergio's like, here's that thing you said you wanted for the agents. I'm like, this is super cool. But first, let me show you. I want to cover a couple different things before. Um, so this is the first time I just built this presentation, and I'm going to expand on it for our future boot camps. But I want to just talk about three technologies. Two, you guys, most of you will be familiar with, and the third one, Sergio can give us a quick breakdown of his new tool that he has created. But a couple technologies that I think are becoming absolutely essential. We at LAER are in a huge push for this right now. Is that at LAER we have what's called a $39 per month tech bundle. We don't make people sign up for it, but it is such a no-brainer in my opinion, because if you went out and bought these products on your own, you'd be paying over $300 a month easily for all three products. But I would want to say to the agents who are at other brokerages, by the way, they're worth $300 a month. So even if you're not a LAER agent, if I was not a LAER agent, I'd go buy these products anyways and pay $300 a month for them because that's how valuable they are. So the first one is Fellow. Fellow is a software that you put all of your clients into your database, names and email addresses and property addresses. And every 2 weeks, it's going to send the client an email offering them a home value report. So why do you need Fellow? Well, I want to show you guys that my mortgage was recently, well, first, my mortgage that I've had since 2019 was sold to Mr. Cooper. And then it was sold, well, Mr. Cooper was bought by Rocket. So my mortgage is now with Rocket. And this is the number of times since January 1st they have offered me my home value report. This is my email. So I just did a search of Rocket in my email, and literally they constantly are like, hey, do you want your home value report? You want your home value report? You want your home value report? So you get an email when you click on it, and it says, hey, you might have extra equity on your house. And then, by the way, they could make an argument, we just want the mortgage information. But then it says, unlock equity and tap into the cash you need. And then it says, are you looking to use your equity, refinance? And there's also a little button that says, no, I'm looking to buy a home. So I tested this morning. I will let you guys know what I found out, because I'm like, I went through and filled out everything that I'm interested in buying a home because I want to see who's calling me. I have a funny feeling I know who's going to call me because, as many of you guys know, Rocket and Redfin are all the same company. So, why do we need Fellow? Because this is like roughly half of the mortgages in the country are getting this email. So, consumers are getting this email, which means that your customer is in your competitor's database. So, important to know. So that means that we need to be offering a home value report to our consumers regularly. So, that's what Fellow is. It basically emails the consumer offering their home value report. And how do you use that to your advantage? Well, first of all, put everybody you know into Fellow so that they're receiving this. One thing that agents sometimes say is, I don't like that it's going out every 2 weeks. I had a call with the Fellow team this week. Pretty soon you're going to be able to change that. So if you don't want it going out every 2 weeks and you want it only once a month, you'll be able to change the cadence at which those emails go out. But I also think that for agents, not only should you learn how to use Fellow, but every single mailer you do, your email signature, every advertisement you put out, every open house you do, every business card, every listing sheet, you should have a link to get people over to your Fellow, because that's how you can compete, knowing that the consumer's already going to have access to this information through a competitor. So you want it to be from you instead. Second way that you can turn this into an advantage is you get them all into your Fellow system. And then when you get a home value lead, it's so important you actually call the person. So one of the things we noticed, we've been now using Fellow for almost a year at our brokerage, and we noticed that one of the things that was difficult with Fellow is that the notification process is through email. So when a consumer clicks on the button that says, yes, I want to know my home value, and by the way, they get it instantly. Once they click on that, it notifies the agent and says, this person has asked for a home value. You get notification somebody's looking at their home value. And then what? Well, you could technically do nothing because it's going to create the home value for them. But what you should do is understand that's a lead. Somebody is interested in their home value. So this happened just in the last 10 days. One thing, going back to the email notification, we noticed a lot of agents were missing the notification in their email because we all get 10 billion emails. So we have a new system at LAER that we will text you as well. When we see a lead come through your Fellow, you're going to receive a text from the LAER team saying, hey, you just got a lead here, so that you can call the person. This happened in the last 10 days. Ariana Cardillo from our Melrose office received a notification. Somebody in her database requested a home value. The system creates the home value, but we notified Ariana that the lead came through. Ariana immediately called the client and said, hey, I noticed you were looking at your home value, had a conversation. Turns out he's thinking about selling his house. So she's already gone out and done a listing presentation. That's the value of Fellow. That thankfully the consumer didn't click on his mortgage company's link that says, I want to know my value. He clicked on Ariana's link. So this is what it looks like. Basically, you get an email. So anybody you put into your system from the client viewpoint, every 2 weeks, they get an email saying, explore your home's current value. And it'll just say, stay informed with the latest valuation for your property. And then there's a button. By the way, it's all branded to you, the agent. You click on the value, see my home's value. As soon as you click on that, the agent is notified. This person is looking at the value of their property. And then it confirms that they have the right property address. Just in case for some reason the wrong address is in there, they can go in and update the property. And then they ask for name and email address and phone number. And then it gives you the home value. So everything is labeled to the agent. So with Fellow on the landing page for the home value, there are 5 opportunities to capture a lead on each home value page. One is the home value report itself. So that's the email that goes to the consumer and they click on it and say, I want my home value report. That's a lead. Second of all, right within the landing page of the home value report, there's a button that says, hey, list your home with us. If they click on that, it's going to send it to the agent saying this person is interested in listing their home. There's also this sell your home a cash offer. So it basically says this is roughly what you could get for a cash offer on your home. You click that, that goes to the agent saying this person would be open to a cash offer. There's also a button at the very bottom of the landing page that says interested in buying, and they can click that and they tag themselves as interested in buying a home. And there's also a contact agent button. So there is 5 opportunities for the consumer to connect with you on each landing page. So, and by the way, just from the consumer's point of view, it's a nice, easy process. It shows them how they calculated the automated valuation and stuff like that. One of the objections that I've had from real estate agents is, oh, well, the automated valuation's not that accurate. This is what I say. Who cares? Who cares what the value of that says? They have just raised their hand. When they click that and say, I want to know the value of my home, they have raised their hand, and that means you should do something about it. You should reach out and say, hey, what did you think about the value that my system created? That's an automated valuation. What did you think? Was it too high, too low, or just right? So on the back end of Fellow as a real estate agent, what's so cool is it is a database that ranks your whole database. Instead of you having 300 people in your database that you treat all the same, such as some of the newsletter databases that are out there, instead of having 300 people that just you treat the same, it's going to rank your whole database. So when you log in as an agent, instead of just seeing a stagnant list of 300 people in a database, it's going to rank them and say, no, these 7 people are likely going to sell their house in the next 12 months because of their activity on their property. So this consumer who reached out to, or that Ariana reached out to, he had 22 views. 22 open. So he was opening all the emails and had clicked on the home valuation, which is why she got the lead. And once he got into that, he clicked twice. So he was looking at stuff within the landing page. So super important to really embrace that program. And we have a huge push at LAER that we're working on that. Before the end of today's program, I'm going to have Ashley give you a quick rundown on our Real Scout. Real Scout is the other app or other program that we should be using. And the reason for that, I said this earlier when I was talking about the buyer presentation, is that if you're not talking about how the consumer should search for real estate as part of your presentation, then they're probably going to either Zillow or worse, a competitor's website to search for real estate. And I have also said that I can't say this for all MLSs, but many MLSs, the search function of many of the MLS systems, which is what many agents use, I'll just set them up in an MLS search. By doing that, you're inviting people to go to Zillow, because it's such an underwhelming experience that they say, I'll just go to Zillow and search for real estate. And this is what happens when they go to Zillow. They start their home search, they go down the yellow brick road, and they end up at another real estate agent. So you have to have a conversation. Real Scout is like being your own Zillow. So they get property updates emailed. If they want them texted, they get them. It constantly puts out new listings. And what's interesting about the way Real Scout works is sometimes you have a consumer that says, for example, I only want to be in Westford, Massachusetts. And then they start looking at properties through the Real Scout system, and the system notices that sometimes they're clicking over in Littleton, Mass, but they said they want a Westford, Mass, but now they're clicking on properties over in Littleton. So now the system takes that information and reformats the emails that it's sending. So it's like a Zillow. So you don't have to think about it. So with Real Scout, number one, you have a personalized landing page. That should be in your email signature line, in your business cards. All marketing mailers should have a place with a QR code saying start your home search here. Your QR code, it should be on your social media sites, because then you don't have to go set somebody up on a search, although you can do that, but people can set themselves up on a search on your page. The other thing I love about Real Scout is creating these search links weekly. So for example, every week you could create and post on your social media, talk about amazing, rich content. How about, let's say you do business in Delray Beach, Florida. You could do a weekly, you create these links within Real Scout where you say, create me a search link for properties in Delray Beach that are under $300,000. Then you go onto social media and you say, hey, here's all the properties in Delray Beach under $300,000. Whoever's on your social media clicks on that link, and then it's going to have them register under your Real Scout. So now they're in your Real Scout searching for real estate instead of on Zillow searching for real estate. And you've already curated a search for them. They're interested in properties under 300,000 in Delray Beach. So use that search functionality. The third technology I want to have Sergio show you. This is something that Sergio from our marketing team created that we're rolling out at our next sales meeting on next Wednesday, and it's called Countdown to Closing. Have you ever missed a contingency date on an offer or a purchase and sale agreement? You missed the mortgage date. That's never good. So with that, Sergio is going to give you a quick demo of our Countdown to Closing program that we're launching on Wednesday. It's all yours, Sergio.
All right, thanks, Stacy. So I'm happy to show you guys what I've been working on. So this is a sort of a reminder system that we can use. It does take advantage of AI by extracting the data from your contracts. We never actually host your contract data. It just kind of looks at it. It sends it over to ChatGPT, which kind of scans it through, and then we can kind of pre-fill the notifications. Now, you don't have to use that. You can always do it manually. But let me give you a quick demo of what that looks like. So this is kind of like the dashboard of what you would see. I'm going to feed it a sample contract, give it one of these, and then we'll click on extract dates with AI. Now it's going to do its work. Again, we're not storing this anywhere. We're just kind of viewing it in memory and then sending it over to ChatGPT. So it'll bring up the different dates, right? These dates are kind of out of date just because they were sent to me as an example, but we can kind of set these to be more contemporary dates, so just so you can see what it looks like. There we go. Now, obviously, you want to verify the dates just to make sure that everything is accurate. You can add more by clicking Add. You can change any of the notes or the labels. You can remove them as well. It'll pull in the transaction details like the property address, the state, contract type, whatever your role is. You can change any of this too via these drop downs. It'll bring in your agent information. So when we create these, you will have your own account. You're able to go to this agent section and choose My Profile, where you are able to change any of your information. I can show you what that looks like in a little bit. You can add in your client's information, and as well as their role. And also, if you're working with the TC, you can add in their information. I'm going to go ahead and save this, and this will then save the notification. So this is sort of the dashboard for the transaction itself. It'll show you the notification log of which notifications are going to be sent out and who's going to receive them. I'm working on a feature that you are able to kind of dictate how many days it's sent out by, but for right now the default is 14 days out, 7 days out, 3 days, and 1 day. These notifications are sent out via email and text message. They're sent out to you as well as your clients or anyone else that's in this section with clients or a TC. Now, you as an agent, like I mentioned, you can edit your profile. You can choose your photo, you can crop it. All this info will show up in that notification, particularly for the email. We can't do that with text just because it's just a text message. In this case, I'm going to click on Send Test. This is sort of a demo, so I can kind of show you what it looks like when you receive that notification. And right away, let me see if I can check my email. Right away, I see the notification that comes through email, right? It gives you what the notification is, how many days away it is. It also gives you all of the milestones. So, this will highlight what the notification is for, but then also all of the upcoming milestones. And also if there's a milestone that has already been completed, it won't send that notification. It'll just send it for the upcoming ones. That's the email notification. And then you also get, let me see if I can pull up the text message, which looks like this. Now, I didn't add a client information, so let me see if I can do that as well. Just so you can see what it looks like for your client. I'll just add my same email address here at LAER. Okay, and then we're going to resend it. And so for your client, hold on, I think I have to add a different one. Hold on 1 second.
Sergio, this is great stuff, first of all, but I'm not seeing mortgage contingency. That's just because this particular deal, I'm assuming, right? Mortgage contingency.
Exactly. You can add any kind of notification, and we're going to add some defaults as well.
Yeah, and home inspection.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Home inspection, all of that.
Yeah.
Just because the thing that I fed it didn't have that. We're kind of working that out just to, tell the AI to look for specific dates. Let me see if we can send this out again. And then let me check my other email. This is, we have Mary Ellen. Do you have a question? Somebody raised their hand. I don't know. All right. Well, I mean, on Wednesday you can kind of join us, and I'll give you a better demo. We're still kind of working out some of the actual notifications that are being sent out, but this is what it looks like. Once you're done with the notifications, once they have been completed, you'll see that these check boxes kind of come up. And then once you're done with the transaction itself, you can mark it as closed or canceled, but you can also reactivate it if you need to. You can also re-queue the notifications. This will notify you if, for example, the email bounced or the text message bounced if it didn't reach the client itself. You can, if it will show up as kind of like a red X and with some information of why it bounced. If that comes back, you can always change the information or update the information for your clients, and then you can resend it again by clicking on this re-queue button. all of your transactions will kind of show up in this transaction section. I canceled that one, but I can reactivate it. And then if you have a few transactions active, when we go to our dashboard, this is sort of a dashboard of everything that's happening, right? These are the upcoming notifications that are going to be sent out, what's being sent out in the next 14 days. Anything that has failed will show up here as well. And then all of this data we don't see on our end, right? So your account is your account. We're not really getting any information from your buyers, anything like that. It all stays within your own account. You'll have your own password that you can sign into. You can change your password from your login and everything. And that's how it works. So right now what we're working on is, getting the final domain. This is sort of a test server, and then getting sort of the final list of the default notifications. Again, you don't need to use the AI section. You can just enter the dates manually yourself, right? And then choose the different types, etc. The AI just makes it easy for you to kind of upload one of the contracts, and then it'll pull all the information from those contracts. And that's it.
All right. Good stuff. Thank you.
Yep.
All right. So we still have a lot of stuff that we need to finish for today. Let me back out of our countdown to closings, and we're going to head back to LAER agent services for a little bit. All right. So we're back at LAER agent services dashboard, and we've finished most of the stuff under marketing. However, I just wanted to show you one other area that I skipped before we head down to a few other pieces before the end of the program. Under signs, apparel, and marketing, you're going to find a bunch of places where you can buy LAER branded stuff like signs, business cards, marketing pieces. But under print marketing, you're going to find some really cool stuff. And I think these should be added to your list of things you're going to execute on after today's program. By the way, I don't get paid by any of these companies. I only recommend them because they're really good. So same with Fellow, Real Scout. None of the stuff I recommend is because they're paying me to recommend it. I believe in those products. So MLS mailings is a really cool product that I believe agents should be using if you're doing mailers. So many of you do just listed, just sold mailers, but every time you just list or just sell a property, you're going through designing it, getting it out. What happens if you could just set it up and forget about it? Set it and forget it. That's what MLS mailings is. It hooks into your MLS and you upload your picture, your logo, your contact information, and then you tell the system, every time I list a property, I want 100 postcards to go to all the surrounding houses. And every time I sell a property, I want 100 postcards to go to all the surrounding neighbors. So, this is set it and forget it. And the pricing is pretty good too. So a standard, if you sent 100 postcards standard size, it's $104, including the postage. If you send jumbo, it's $136. So you don't have to think about, I got to get my postcards out. You as a real estate agent should never be in an office like putting stamps on anything, and you shouldn't have admins doing it either. All of that can be outsourced for a fraction of the price. So not only is this outsourced, but it's also automated, so you can do it consistently. Second, I want to recommend the Personal Marketing Company. They do all kinds of postcards and stuff for real estate agents. But specifically, the one that I recommend to all agents is their automated client follow-up program. This is a no-brainer for a one-time charge of $48. So you pay once, $48. They will send 21 mailings to your client over a series of 5 years. So over 5 years, they're going to get a mailer from you. The reason this is so important is because the National Association of Realtors tells us that as soon as somebody closes on a property, statistics state that consumers say they would use the same real estate agent again. Something like 88% of people say they would use the same agent again. But in reality, less than 20% actually use the same real estate agent again. Why is that? Why do they like the person and they would use them again, but they don't use them again? Well, oftentimes it's because the agent didn't stay in touch with the person. In our industry, we do so much work to get to the closing table. And then once we're to the closing table, we're on to the next deal. We're on to the next transaction. And many times it is kind of lost that we got to get the person we just closed a transaction with into a system so that we're staying in touch. This is a no-brainer. $48, and it's going to send magazines with your picture and contact information, some postcards, a letter. It's just, I call it like an insurance policy. So just in case you forget to stay in touch with your client through regular calls, client appreciation events, things like that. In case you forget to stay in touch with your past clients, this is your insurance policy that the system is going to stay in touch with them. So, let's see. Next one, I'm a huge fan of Wise Pelican. This is just in general, really nice postcards and stuff. But what I specifically like about Wise Pelican is that it integrates with all the MLSs. So let's say you want to do a nice brochure for your property. You could just type in the MLS number, you set it up with your MLS, and it's going to create all of your marketing pieces. A couple others. Yellow Letters Complete. These are for like handwritten note cards. Let's say that you want to send a nice handwritten note card to all of your past customers for St. Patrick's Day. They'll do a handwritten note. You can either do an AI handwritten note, which is less expensive, but they'll also do an actual handwritten note by a person that writes your notes. And then RSP, data-driven marketing. I really like these for, especially for Florida, like condo complexes, because they do like this cool market update, like this Kingsview market update with your picture, your contact information, and it tells, because in Florida, there's all these huge condo developments. So this is a great way to look like the person that does all the business in that condo development. This is RSP, data-driven marketing. So those are some of my favorite marketing companies. Now let's go back. We're back at LAER Agent Services. Today we've covered all the marketing and branding stuff. Now I want to take you down to the agent growth and development section because there's a few things in here that are really important. The first button is classes, meetings, and coaching. You guys are into training or you wouldn't be sitting on a class for 3 hours today. So number one, if, by the way, you want to see the full rollout of our new Countdown to Closing program, you can sign up for our sales meeting. It's always the second Wednesday of the month. You can go register there. Anybody is welcome. You can also click on our training calendar and see all of our upcoming training classes. So you basically look at the calendar, it tells you what classes are when, and all of these, you basically go to laerzoom.com at the time of the meeting, and you can watch whatever class that is. But really important, go check out our YouTube station. If you have not already subscribed to our YouTube station, you have to subscribe. Look at this, 487 training videos. That is insane. 487 really good training videos, and we constantly add new ones. So go subscribe to this. If you want to come back and watch the boot camp later, you can watch the rerun. But also we add new training classes every single week. So we organize them here, like we have our Quantum Sparks, the Algorand series, our sales meetings, boot camps, commercial real estate, all our exclusive tool trainings. We have lots of mindset training, social media masterclass, just so much content there. But if you subscribe to our YouTube station, you'll just never miss a class. It'll just give you a little notification every single time we add a class. We have a printable training calendar here you can print out. If you have not attended, each week on Mondays, we do a Quantum Sparks class. You can watch all the reruns at laerrealty.com/Quantum Sparks. This is all about shifting your mindset. Your success as a real estate agent is 90% mindset. And all the other stuff is like marketing is important and stuff like that. But if you don't have a really good mindset, a healthy mindset, it's going to be really difficult to do well in this business. Our LAER Elite Agent app. We don't have time to go into that today, but if you're a LAER agent, please download this app, because we have all the programs, all of our training programs, we organize in a way. So not only can you track your production, etc., but also we organize training tracks. So in YouTube, we put like all of the classes on social media together. Whereas on the LAER Elite Agent app, we organize them differently into a trajectory on what your end goal is. So go check out the Elite Agent app. And let's see, I'm going to go backwards because we only have about 15 minutes left. Next, we have business plans and growth systems. Now, if you need help in your business, if you are not accomplishing your goals, we have some really, really good tools here to help you. The most important one is our Algorwin system. Algorwin is a program we developed to get agents to 30 transactions a year. It is a step-by-step system that you can follow for building a real estate business, and the agents that do it get to 30 transactions a year. So you can download our Algorwin system here. We have some other cool goal setting tools. You can go click on goal setting and it's going to take you to some other additional goal setting tools. We also added a link here for you guys. Referral fee-based lead platforms. Do you need leads? Well, here's all the companies that offer leads to real estate agents for a referral fee. In other words, most of these, I don't think any of these you have to pay monthly for. They get paid through referral fees. So go sign up for all the referral fee-based lead platforms. I always say, if they tell you there is a waiting list, that is a test. Because think about the type of agent they want in these programs. They want the agent who doesn't stop at stop signs. Because if you don't stop at stop signs when it comes to your business, then you're going to be a really good converter. So even if you find a stop sign in the process, just keep going. We also have a traditional business planning guide here. This is like a 45 page. This is a traditional business plan for real estate agents. This is cool to like bring your team members together and say, hey, let's all get together and work on our business plan. Let's see. And then we have a list. Oh, the simple plan list. This is another type of business plan we created. Because if you think about it, if you want to make a huge jump in your business, let's say you're doing $2 million in sales, and most likely if you do $2 million in dollar volume last year, that's probably what you did the year before, and that's probably what you did the year before that, because our volume, the amount of business we do, is a byproduct of who we believe ourselves to be. So that is why for many real estate agents, once you get to a particular volume of business, that's where you stay for most of your career, which is fine if you're happy with that. But what happens if you wish to be doing more business? What if you're doing $2 million in sales volume and you wish to be doing 10 million? That means that you have to believe something different about yourself. So this document, A Simple Plan, is all about exploring that. Exploring the other versions of you that exist, and how do you tap into those versions of you to accomplish your mission. And then we also have an IPA checklist. These are just income producing activities. If you find yourself slow and you want to be focusing on something that can produce income, you can click on that. Let's see, down to the agent toolbox. Few things I want to show you. There's a whole link here on sustainability, the stuff that Craig went over. You can go click on sustainability and find all kinds of great tools there. We also have a link for agent safety, and uh, this is a recent class we did with Black Ops Tactical Consulting. Really important piece of our business is staying safe. If you think about it, we are in a precarious position because we work with strangers, and it's very possible that you end up being alone with people who are you're not familiar with. So this whole program is about having situational awareness for real estate agents. And then if you keep going down, um, we have our agent directory. We have a list of all of our LAER offices. And then at the very bottom is our brokerage blog, where we put out like our top agent lists each month, things like that. So before we end today, I do want to have Ashley come on and just give you guys a really quick rundown on our on
Real Scout.
Real Scout, and because it is so important, especially with all the consolidation that's happening in our industry, to keep clients off of a Redfin site or keep them off of a Zillow site. We want to keep our people with us. We want to control the ecosystem. So with that, I'll let Ashley give you a quick rundown on the 10 things we think you should know about using Real Scout.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. Present full screen. Can everyone see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So, as Stacy mentioned, 10 quick steps for Real Scout. There's an app. Not only is there an app for the agent, there's also an app for your client. The two different apps are going to look different. So the one major difference between the two is the agent one is always going to have a banner that says pro across the top left corner, and it's going to be black with a white house. It's going to be the inverse for your consumers. So it's going to be a white background with a black house, and theirs will just say Real Scout Home Search. Yours will say Real Scout Agent Dashboard. So that's a way to differentiate the two. There's unique sign-up links. So as Stacy mentioned earlier, search links, it's something new Real Scout rolled out, I want to say last month or the month before that. So weekly, as she mentioned, you can set up a search for, say, homes under $300,000 in any area. You can put that link on your social media. You can send it out to your clients that are looking in that price range in that particular area. They can set their own search up. You can also use your own unique links for marketing. So you can copy your link. You can share it direct on Facebook right from within the Real Scout platform. Verifying your MLS. If you're an agent and you're a licensed agent like myself, I have my New Hampshire, I have my Maine, I have my Massachusetts real estate license. So you can have all three within your MLS. The default for that would be cross MLS. So if you are setting someone up and you have more than one MLS in here, you're going to have to check off by clicking the drop down and just checking which MLS you want. Maine, Massachusetts, they clump everything together. New Hampshire, they break it down, residential, commercial lease, residential lease. So they break it down in New Hampshire. So you have to make sure if you're setting someone up on a commercial, you scroll down and you select the commercial one, because if you don't, you're going to have to go back and to the cross MLS and verify that MLS search. Now, you are going to see basic criteria. If you do have a client looking and say New Hampshire, Mass, you can just do a cross MLS search for the two states. It's going to be more of your basic search that you get within MLS. You're not going to be able to search by the school boundary or any more of the more multifaceted or specialty search criteria in Real Scout. Added a new client, super simple. There's a button that says add contact. It'll ask for their email, their first name, their last name, and then you can tag them. Are they a buyer, seller and seller, or other? You can also upload a CSV file if you have a CSV file. So you would just go on the left-hand side of the screen, you would click on contacts, and then over on the top right, it's going to say import contacts. You would import your contacts there. Now, I am going to caveat, if you do that, you do have to download the Real Scout specific template, and you have to template your CSV file to the way that Real Scout has it. If you do not do it, it's not going to upload properly, and it will upload with errors, or it will reject your upload because it's not templated properly. If you are a LAER agent and you have any questions on that, email Happy Agent and we can gladly help you out with that. We can walk you through it, or we can do it for you. There's different unique ways you can search. You can do a radius. You can do a shape that you can draw on your own. You can also overlap your shapes now. So you can have a radius, and then within that radius, you can have another shape that overlaps that. That is something new that Real Scout came up with when they did their latest update. I want to say like a month and a half ago. Again, you can search by a school district, you can search by a condo association name, development name, subdivision name. If you have somebody who has, say, I know this is common in Florida, who has horses and you need paddocks or equestrian type properties, you can search by those features or those amenities within Real Scout. You can also update the client search by clicking on their contact, clicking on their name, and then click in whatever alert you need to edit. So you would just click edit. It'll bring you back to the criteria fields. You can update whatever criteria you need. Once you are done updating the criteria fields, you are going to have to click update search. If you do not click update search, it's not going to save your new search. Once you update search, if there are any new listings, it's going to come up with a box asking you, do you want to send these to your client now? Yes or no. If you say no, then there is a way that you can go through and manually send those. And I do go over that in the Lunch and Learn when I do the Real Scout Lunch and Learn auto nurture. So this is great to always be top of mind for your client. So if you have a client who's looking for 3-bed, 2-bath, and that's how you set them up on a search, but they create their own search in Real Scout and they start looking at 3-bed, 1-bath, Real Scout is gonna cater to both search criteria with this auto nurture feature. Love it. I have that set for all my clients. Monthly activity report with it for the market for a specific town. You can also zoom in and you can do a specific street, a specific area of a town. Now, what this information is going to give you is how many active buyers there have been, how many buyer interactions there have been, what are the hot properties, what's recently closed, what's recently sold. But it's also going to give you it in a graph so you can see on this particular week or particular day how many buyers there were in that specific area. This data is just data from Real Scout. It doesn't take into account anything from MLS. I will caveat that. So again, what you can use for buyers, you can use for sellers. What you can use for sellers, you can use for buyers. So you can also use this report, the same report that you just showed your buyers. You can use it for your sellers to accurately and appropriately price a property. And this is the heat map. It's going to show them what's going on within their neighborhood, especially if you have someone who thinks their property is here, but all of your data is saying here. You have more data that backs up why you're suggesting the price you are with real-time data as well as your comparative market analysis. Why is it better than a website? It's above average search experience, property alerts daily that are up to date, not out of date like Zillow. The emails are, on the go on your phone. You can see all the data. You can see all the photos. It's a great mobile app that you can see what your clients are looking at if you're on the go. And you can integrate it with most major real estate lead platforms like Realtor.com, Follow Up Boss. There's a couple other, I don't remember all of them off the top of my head. So with that, I know it's a little quicker than I usually do it. I'm going to give that back to Stacy. And while I stop sharing my screen, I believe there was a question that came in. So she showed the library wondering how I can get there without all the distraction of YouTube. That's from Tim Ledger. He sent in a question.
Let's see.
She showed the library wondering how I can get there? Oh, I think when you go to LAER agent services and you go to the training, the classes and the meetings, I think there's a button that brings you right to the YouTube training channel.
Yeah, and by the way, Tim, to get to our YouTube, if you go to youtube.com/layer training, you can, all of our training is right there. If that way you don't even have.
I'll put the link for that in the chat quickly too.
Okay, we got 3 minutes to wrap up everything. Most important piece that I want to leave you guys with, let me go back to where we started today. As you can remember, we started the morning with that LAER program and services guide, which you can download at laerrealty.com/success tools. The only reason I say download that is because everything we covered today is in that booklet. So it's like a nice organized place to see everything. And if you download the PDF version of it, it has all the links embedded into it. So everything that we covered today is in this LAER program and services guide. And as a recap, let me just share this. They make it not super easy to share sometime. As a recap, when you go through the book, it's divided into 4 sections. The first section is marketing and branding, which we covered a lot of the marketing and branding tools for you today. There's a few other things like our magazine and stuff is in this guide. Second of all, the second section is technology, and there's tons of complementary technology that you get as being a LAER agent, but it also goes into that $39 per month tech bundle, which gives you Fellow, the agent website, and then the Real Scout. But one thing I want to point, as I mentioned, as you go through the pages, like on the Real Scout page, there's little tutorials on how to actually use Real Scout. Third section is our career development. It talks about the LAER Elite Edge productivity app. We didn't get really any time to cover that today. For those of you who want a system for growing your business, you can download our Algorwin program. Also, we have a phenomenal coaching program for agents, which we really didn't get to highlight too much. But if you've gone through the Algorwin program and you've taken all the classes that we offer about the Algorwin program and you still want additional accountability, we have a phenomenal coaching program. You can access it at laerrealty.com/layer coaching. We talked about all the training classes. In addition to what we have on our YouTube, we also do in-person training. Every year we bring in speakers to both New England and to Florida region. In the last few years, we've brought in Tom Ferry, Lee Brown, Michael Mayer. So we like to not only focus on offering great training to our agents with our current staff, but also bring in great speakers, because you never know who's going to resonate with you. And then the final section of this guide is our agent support services. If you're a LAER agent, as you know, if you ever need anything, we have support 7 days a week, 50 plus staff members. If you ever need anything, just email happyagent@laerrealty.com. And then at the very end of this book, we talk about the fact that we are proud to be realtors. One thing I say when agents say that they wish that they didn't have to pay for the realtor fee, I say that it's a blessing that we pay for that, because the realtor organization is one of the biggest trade organizations in the country. And if you think about other big industries that have really been hit hard, like the yellow taxis, the travel industry. Like, when was the last time you saw a travel agent? And to be honest, I wish they were still prevalent, with how difficult it can be to book travel, things like that these days. But it is because we have a realtor organization that, in my opinion, we still have an industry to work in. So what I say is, instead of focusing on the fact that there's a fee to be a realtor, instead get the most out of the fee. So go utilize what you get from being a realtor. For example, I think that RPR alone is such a powerful tool that alone is worth the investment each year. Like, I'd go out and pay for that if it wasn't part of what you get for being a realtor. And then last but not least, at the very end of our guide here, we have a list of all the LAER offices throughout Massachusetts, Connecticut, Florida, Maine, New Hampshire. If you're thinking about switching brokerages or evaluating brokerages, we would love to have a conversation with you. You can email me at happyagent@laerrealty.com, and I'll be happy to reach out and give you some more information about our brokerage. But most important piece I want to leave you guys with today is the list, the 10 things that you're going to write down and go execute on. You are in the top 1%, in my opinion, because you just spent 3 hours trying to build a better real estate business. And I don't want you to let that go to waste. You took all this time today to better your business. Go execute on something. Some of the things that you should execute on: a buyer presentation, you need one; a seller presentation, you need one; a buyer guide, a seller guide, an investor guide. Go learn your Real Scout, because those are the tools that they're just absolutely necessary in the new world we live in, where they are getting inundated by these other, like the Zillows and the Real Scouts and things like that. I'm sorry, the Zillows and the Redfins. So you got to go learn the technologies, pick one and go learn it really well. Try the set it and forget it systems, MLS mailings. Go set up the system that I showed you where you can do a set it and forget it for $48 for the next 5 years. You could stay in front of your client. These are some of the things that hopefully you wrote down today so that you're going to go execute. I want to thank everyone for taking so much time to focus on your business today. I get 3 hours is a really long time for a Zoom call. Also want to thank Ashley and Sergio and Craig for another great boot camp, and we will see everybody next month, same time, same place. Thanks, everyone.